Dang, got a lot on my mind right now. Went down the rabbit hole of YouTube and found myself watching a whole host of videos which just seem to have no end to, you know, what could potentially be or has been, or what has been changed about what has been. Found myself going down a road of Saturnian cosmology when there was a purple sun in the sky due to Saturn's alignment in our solar system, which has changed. And the actual atmosphere that was created a golden age of civilization on the planet. Everything from this merely being a cosmological experience to it being one of literal beings. And the story plays itself throughout history and will again play itself in history in the future, right? And all of a sudden, it's like I'm thinking to myself as the videos are discussing how then Saturn became the devourer of children. And then all of a sudden it's relatable to, you know, Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, dang, dudes, like, you guys just go off one thing. It's like enjoyable to listen to this to a certain degree, but then it's just like, I can't help but just voice my own opinion, which kind of ruins the state of entertainment, you know what I mean? And it's just like, well, if people 1,000 years from today look at all these pictures of Trump and think that we're actually characterizing, this guy in like a sense of what he's actually doing, then they're going to have a very delusional sense of who the guy is. I mean, obviously, there is some realistic interpretation which can be made, but a lot of it's metaphorical in meaning. And I think that a lot of these images were as well. It's like looking at pictures of Jesus. You can find the guy doing about anything today if you find the right artist and his artwork online. He could probably be the most menacing figure, you know what I mean, if you find the right piece of artwork. And it's like this guy Abraham and all of a sudden these sacrificial, communities that come about and they're like, well, they used to sacrifice children. I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're actually meaning that as a child you become consumed with your father's work and in a sense inherently become your father by inheriting, you know, the right to do his work. And then in a sense become the father yourself and the cycle repeats itself or what have you, you know what I mean? Like there's so many, analogies and motifs and metaphors and symbolisms used within all of these works that I just feel as though it's not doing anything justice to all of a sudden go down these roads of like looking at a few paintings and interpretations and then all of a sudden thinking that's what it is. When we look at how our society is today, is it really that far fetched to think that people back then are exactly, in a lot of ways how we are today? And that being said, a lot of this crap is being taken way out of proportion. And it's like, dude, you know what? Maybe they didn't like sacrificing all this jazz. Like, maybe it's all metaphorical. And, you know what I mean? It literally just meant what I just said, where it's like, you kind of become consumed with your father's work as an inheritor of your father's, work. And then in a sense become the father yourself or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the father's within me, blah, 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 deedle, deedle, dee. You know what I mean? Yeah. Another thing. How much of history is intertwined and ingrained within our beings themselves rather than a history which we ourselves read? You know what I'm saying? How much is intertwined within the fibers of our being through, let's say, DNA, which literally is a written history encoded within ourselves? You know what I mean? It's like To say that there was no history before all of a sudden writing came about, I think that's delusional. It's like obviously the progression of life is a history, and the encoding within, you know, our biological forms is literally a written history of events which have taken place. It's literally the entirety of what has happened up until this point in time encoded within our DNA, reacting to every change which has taken place within our environment. So to say that it's far fetched, to think that you yourself might be housing the entirety of the historical events which have been, going on since the beginning isn't too far fetched. So, yeah, I've just been going down this extreme rabbit hole. It all started about 5 months ago when I saw the Disney movie Atlantis 2, Milo's Return, where it was like a weird show. It didn't feel at all like the first Atlantis movie, where they discover Atlantis. And it was like a couple of the characters' voices had changed or something. It just wasn't what it was before, you know what I mean? And so like the movie itself was like split up in these episodes where they like went on like these heroic tales, you know what I mean, like adventures. And one of them they went to like the American Southwest, and they went to like all these, adobe cliffside ancient ruins where they found like remnants of, an advanced society, global society, and protected by the spirit wolf. You know what I mean? That's where it all began, folks. That's where this rabbit hole began. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? It's like, due to the data mining that's going on because of Mark Zuckerberg, or the Zuck, as many people like to call him, all of a sudden, I get these things, later on where it's like, yo, dude, ancient discoveries in the Grand Canyon. It's just like, this is just one rainy day, you know what I mean? I'm just browsing through Netflix and I'm like, Atlantis 2, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? So I watched that shit. Next thing you know, I'm watching all of a sudden in my feed, like all this freaking ancient discoveries, cover up conspiracies, and the freaking, Grand Canyon of Egyptian hieroglyphs and Buddhist statues, whatever. And then the next thing you know, I'm like in some Reddit forum about freaking like all of these world's fairs that have been used to like slowly destroy the history of humanity so that a few people can take away the freedom that humanity once had, in its glorious golden state, and destroyed all of these architectural feats of amazement throughout history. And then all of a sudden there's like this nation that popped up in my feed, like the Grand Tartarian Empire or something like that, where Russia was, and there's like all these monuments being destroyed or some crap. And then all of a sudden I'm like, in this place where this guy's like posting, dude, he's like posting like, we do not come from the monkeys of the trees. We come from the dolphins of the sea, our closest ancestors. Do you not notice that purple light is something much more, in tune with your eyes, and you cannot look at the brightness of the sun? He's like, we come from dolphins. And so I like clicked on this guy's icon, you know what I mean? I was like, what's this guy about? And then all of a sudden I'm like watching these videos about Saturn used to be the sun, and the atmosphere that it created on Earth was that which provided humanity with the potential to fly and, cosmic consciousness and all this stuff. I'm just like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Click on this other guy's comment that I saw another guy make a crazy comment. Clicked on that as well. Clicked on his YouTube channel, you know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden I'm just like watching this stuff about where it is that we began in the beginning of this post. We have now completed this cycle